I found the necklace my husband had bought for his mistress on the very same morning I found out I was pregnant. The blue velvet box was hidden in the second drawer of his desk, under hospital receipts, conference invitations, and surgery schedules that suddenly looked like lies. I had not been searching for evidence. That was the humiliating part. I was organizing his papers, the way I always did. I was still playing the perfect wife in a perfect house in Lomas de Chapultepec, while my marriage was rotting behind polished shutters. When I opened the box, the pendant caught the light like a cruel little joke. It was a white gold heart, delicate, expensive, and intimate. On the back, there was an inscription, "For Camilla, where I can finally rest." My hands went cold. I did not scream. I did not throw the box. I only stared at those words until they stopped looking like words. Camilla, the surgical resident Damien had called brilliant, but too young to handle pressure. The same woman I had welcomed into her home twice. She had sat at my kitchen table with hospital folders and a shy little smile so practiced that I had offered her coffee. My phone buzzed on the desk. Damien had texted. "Surgery ran late. Don't wait up." It was the same message as always, the Semecklian sentence he used to cover a dirty life. Dr. Damien Estrada was the kind of man people admired before they knew the truth. Calm voice, perfect suit, gifted hands, a saint in the operating room. At home, those same hands were cold. He never had to shout to make a room feel smaller. My mother used to say marrying him was my greatest achievement. "A man like that does not come twice, Mariana," she told me. For years, I believed her. Or maybe I needed her believe her, because the alternative was admitting how lonely I had become beside him. Every time Damien came home smelling like a perfume that was not mine, he said it was from the hospital. Every time he corrected me in front of his colleagues, I smiled so no one would notice if shame burning under my skin. Every time I asked a question, he called me sensitive, insecure, dramatic. Somehow, I always ended up apologizing for having feelings. But that morning, before the necklace, before the inscription, before Camilla Becamerial, I had seen 2 pink lines on a pregnancy test. I had locked myself in the guest bathroom because I did not want Gloria, our housekeeper, to hear me cry if the test was negative again. For 3 years, my body had been turned into a project. Treatments, injections, blood tests, doctors explaining me like IWA's a broken machine. When the second line appeared, I sat on the cold tile floor and cried with my hand over my mouth. For 1 hour, I thought everything might change. I thought Damien would hold me. I thought a baby might bring back whatever we had lost. Then I found the necklace, and the dream shattered so quietly that it hurt more than a scream. I opened his laptop. The password was still a wedding date. It is cruel how so many honor can betray you and still use your history as a key. There were emails from Camilla, hotel reservations in Polanco, pictures from Acabin in Valdebrovao, and messages that made my heart stop. In one message, Damien wrote, "I will solve Mariana's situation soon." I was not his wife. I was not his partner. IWA is not the woman who had stood beside him through residency and helped build his reputation. I was the Mariana situation, an elegant obstacle, a problem to be solved before I could rest in another woman's arms. I went to the closet and took out a small suitcase. My hands shook, but my mind became strangely clear. I packed comfortable clothes, my passport, my marriage certificate, copies of medical documents, my grandmother's earrings, and money from an account Damien never knew about. It was not much, but it was mine. That suddenly mattered more than anything. Then I sat at his desk and wrote a letter. "Damien, I found the necklace, the emails, and the true size of your lie. I will not stay so my child can learn that love feels like a cage." I placed the pregnancy test beside the letter. Then I set Camilla's necklace on top of it. Before I left, I touched my still flat stomach and whispered, "I am sorry I tried to save a house where we were never safe." I left my keys on the desk. My heels clicked against the marble like a farewell to cold for everything that was dying. I drove without a plan until Mexico City disapped behind me. When I reached the highway toward Oaxaca, my phone began vibrating again and again. Damien had found the letter. But this time, when his name appeared on the screen, I did not turn back. I reached Puerto Escondido at dawn with swollen eyes, a broken back, and nausea that came from both pregnancy and fear. I rented a small room above a diner near the pier. It had a hard bed, a blue window, and a curtain that smelled like salt. There was no marble there, no security mirrors, no expensive silence, only the ocean hitting the shore as if it were attempting to erase something. I turned off my phone for 2 days. When it turned it back on, Damien had colored 61 times. My mother had colored 27. Her message was worse than his silence. Mariana, stop making a scene. Damien is worried. A wife does not run away like this. My mother always knew how to turn my pine into bad manners. I went downstairs for breakfast, trembling. The owner of the diner, Nora Montes, served eggs, beans, and sweet bread without asking my story. She had silver hair, brown skin, and eyes that looked directly at the truth. You are either running away, or you are being born, she said. I almost dropped my cup. Is it that obvious? I asked. Women who run keep watching the door, Nora said. Women who are being born look at Thesia. You are looking at both. Nora had been widowed young, raised 3 children, and opened a CAF called Il Ferruzial. She gave me work without forcing me to confess. First I washed cups, then I served coffee, then I learned to bake banana bread. Little by little, I remembered how to smile without performing perfection. My belly began to grow slowly, so did my breathing. At Il Ferro Arsul, I met Matteo, a former sailor who repaired boats and read used novels at the back table. He had a scar on his forearm and a quiet sadness in his eyes. The first time I dropped a tray, he jumped up like he had heard a gunshot. Nora looked at him and said, "It was only a tray, boy." He took one deep breath and sat down. Later, I understood that everyone in that place had arrived with something broken. Matteo spoke little, but he never invaded. Firefight rained. He walked me to the stairs. If he looked pale, he left water near my hand. One evening on the beach, I told him I was pregnant. He did not ask about the father. He did not look at me with pity. He only took off his jacket and placed it over my shoulders. Then don't walk barefoot, he said. The sand is cold. That simple care broke something open in me. It was not a grand promise. It was not a speech. It was real kindness. But peace does not last long when a powerful man still believes you belong to him. My mother arrived at the CAF 1 month later in dark sunglasses, an expensive Espers, and the expression she wore when smithing embarrassed her. Mariana, enough, she said. Damien is suffering. What a surprise, I answered. So did I. And nobody took a flight. She looked around at the wooden tables. The fisherman, Nora behind the counter, and Matteo with his book. Is this what you want for your child? She's a diner. I want my child to be born somewhere her mother does not need permission to breathe. Her eyes dropped to my stomach. Do you know what it is? A girl, I said. My mother pressed her lips together. A girl needs a last name, stability, position. A girl needs a mother who does not teach her to lower her head. She stepped closer and lowered her voice. Marriage is not a fairy tale. Men fail. A smart woman looks the other way when it protects her life. Nora came out from behind the counter, wiping her hands on her apron. We do not convince pregnant women to go back to the men who turned off their light, Nora said. My mother stared at her like she was furniture that had learned to speak. And who are you? Nora smiled. Someone who did not sell her daughter for a pretty house. My mother left red with anger. Before jetting into the taxi, she said, Damien is coming. Then you will understand you cannot raise a daughter alone. That night, Damien texted, I know where you're. Tomorrow we talk like adults. I did not sleep. I prepared a folder with the emails, the hotel receipts, the cabin photos, the necklace receipt, my medical cords, and copies of every threat. Nora called an attorney in Ducat N. That lie bites harder than a hungry dog, shattered me. The next morning, Damien entered the CAF wearing a white shirt, an expensive watch, and a calm expression he had used on hospital boards. The whole room went quiet. He looked around, deciding which people mattered and which did not. Mary Anna, he said, this has gone far enough. We are leaving. Matteo closed his book. Nora placed her phone in the counter, already recording. I put one hand over my belly. For the first time in years, his voice did not move me. I am not going anywhere with you. Damien looked at my stomach as if the pregnancy became real only when he could see it. Is it mine? The question landed in the CAF like something rotten. Matteo stood, but I lifted my hand to stop him. Stay where you are, I told Damien. You will not turn my pregnancy into another humiliation. His jaw tightened. You are emotional. Your mother was right. You are not thinking clearly. No, I said. I am thinking with a clarity you never expected from me. Then he used his doctor voice, the one used to explain bad news and control frightened people. Mary Anna, come home. We can handle Kamala privately. I will end it. I do not believe you. I am your husband. You are also the man who bought another woman a necklace while I injected hormones into my body trying to give you a child. For the first time, Damien had no elegant answer. He was not used to hearing the truth out loud in a room he did not control. I placed the folder on the table and opened it. This is the divorce petition. These are Euromails. These are the hotel payments. These are the messages where you call me a situation. And these are the medical documents proving me pregnancy. If you try to call me instable, take my daughter, or use my method to pressure me, this goes to the hospital. But I paused long enough for him to understand. It also goes to the ethics committee, feediness, the wives of your colleagues, and every resident who ever believed you were untouchable. You are threatening me, he said. No, I am warning you that I am finished protecting your reputation. He reached for my arm. Matteo stepped forward. Do not touch her. Damien looked him up and down. And who are you? Matteo answered calmly. A witness who will not stay quiet. That was when Damien noticed the room. Fishermen, cooks, neighbors, Norris' phone. People who did not owe him feathers and were not afraid of his last name. He left without shouting. That was his first defeat. The divorce was not easy. Damien tried to paint my departure as a breakdown caused by pregnancy hormones. My mother signed a statement saying I had always been sensitive and easily influenced. Reading her words hurt almost as much as reading his emails. But Nora's attorney did bite hard. She presented the letter I had left, the evidence, the threats, and the record showing I had planned my departure clearly. She also found two former residents willing to speak confidentially about Damien's behavior at the hospital. In court, Damien's calm finally cracked when the attorney read his message aloud. I will recover what is mine. A woman is not marital property, Theogony said, and an unborn daughter is no leverage. Camilla disappeared when she realized there would be no tragic romance, only legal exposure and a man willing to sacrifice Shenian to save himself. Damien signed support agreements and supervised future visitation, not because he became noble, because every fight exposed him more. My daughter was born on a June night while rain hammered the roof of the hospital in Puerto Escondido. Nora held one of my hands. Matteo paced the hallway like the world depended on every step. My mother was not there. When I heard my baby cry, the house in Lomas, the marble floors, the necklace, Thiles, all of it fell far away from me. I named her Emilia Luz. Luz, because she arrived while I was still learning how to walk out of the dark. Damien met her 2 months later by video call, under the terms of the agreement. He cried when he saw her. I never knew if it was love, guilt, or wounded vanity. I had stopped trying to translate his tears. She is beautiful, he said. Yes, I answered. Mariana, maybe we can fix something for her. For her. I already fixed the most important thing. She will not grow up watching her mother disappear. Then I ended the call without shaking. Over time, I left the room above the dinner and rented a small apartment facing the sea. Nora later offered me a partnership in El Faro Azul. We opened a tiny bookstore next door, with children's stories, used poetry, and a table made from old boatwood. I sold Camilla's necklace. With that money, I bought the first books for the children's corner. I liked that small justice. A jewel born from betrayal, now holding stories that belonged to new beginnings. Matteo and I did not rush into love. We both knew pain can disguise itself as rescue if you move too fast. First, he was my friend. Then he was the person who brought medicine when Emilia had a fever. Then he fixed her crib when one leg came loose. Then he sat in silence the night I cried over a cold birthday card from my mother. One sunset, while Emilia played in the sand, Matteo sat beside me. I do not want to save you, he said. You already saved yourself. I only want to walk beside you, if someday you let me. I cried without shame. Healthy love does no tenter with fireworks. Sometimes it sits near me and waits. 3 years later, we married on the beach. Nora brought flowers. The fisherman cooked fish. Emilia wore a yellow dress. Before Matteo finished his vows, Emilia did Papa. He cried harder than I did. My mother came to the wedding. She stood in the back with dark glasses and a guilt that finally looked real. After the ceremony, she approached me. I was wrong, she said. I did not hug her right away. Yes, you were. I wanted you to have a safe life, she whispered. No, Emma. You wanted my life to look safe. She lowered her eyes. Can I get to know Emilia better? I looked at my daughter running toward Nora with sand in both hands. Slowly, I said. And you will never teach her that a woman must suffer to keep a house. My mother nodded. We are still learning how to talk. Damien married Camilla and separated from her a year later. His reputation at the hospital never fully recovered. When other residents began telling similar stories, I understood something painful and powerful. Sometimes the truth needs one woman to speak first before others stop believing they are alone. Today, Emilia runs between coffee tables, bookshelves, and the smell of banana bread. She calls the bookstore the house of stress. She calls Nora Grandma Lighthouse. She calls Matteo Papa. Not because anyone told her to, but because he stayed. Sometimes I think about the woman who left a pregnancy test on a cold desk and walked out with one small suitcase. I wish I could hold her and tell her that fear was not weakness. It was proof she was standing in front of a door big enough to change her life. Damien believed my pregnancy would be the cane that brought me back. He was wrong. It was the key. Because starting over is not always losing a perfect life. Sometimes it is finally discovering that perfect was only a beautiful cage with all the lights on.